What's up, my fellow weebs? Finally, the masterpiece Frieren, Beyond Journey's End Season 2 has officially dropped. The script this time is high stakes and sweaty as hell because our 1,000-year-old mage Frieren and her star pupil Frieren get their magic completely sealed, literally silenced and nerfed to the ground. If a monster decides to pull up right now, the whole 3-man squad is gonna have to rely on our resident tanker Stark to hard carry their backs. So, how is Granny Frieren gonna handle this mess? Today's episode kicks off with the squad saying goodbye to a fallen comrade. It's a super meaningful and heartbreaking moment for them. But hey, that's life on the Earth server. Immortality is a feature only available in the Afterlife DLC. After that sad departure, we see them chilling on a carriage, discussing the most important issue, the funds. Stark, our boy in the red drip, is pressing the other two about how they're gonna secure the bag. They probably need to find a gig in the next town because the budget is looking broke. If they don't think 2 steps ahead, this run is gonna be game over real quick, so step 1 is penny pinching. Finally, they arrive safely and thank the old man for the lift. They try to tip him, but the old timer shuts that down immediately, basically saying, "Fam, money ain't a thing right now. I'm the one who should be paying you kids. You guys were basically my bodyguards, I would have been cooked without you. Thank the RNG gods he made it safe. Drive safe, it's a long road ahead." We cut to Stark trying to go fishing. Bro thought he hooked an absolute unit of a fish, but it was apparently too massive and snapped his line like a twig. After grinding for an hour, Stark comes back with nothing but disappointment and a trophy the size of a pinky finger. Frieren savagely roasts him about the microscopic catch, but hey, thank God, just throw it in the porridge for breakfast I guess. Meanwhile, Frieren is busy cooking when she gets jump-scared by half of Master Frieren's ass sticking out of a bush in the distance. Frieren crawls out looking satisfied like she just hit the Powerball, pulling out a weird-looking rock. Stark runs over, hyping it up, "Nice rock, that seals magic, though. Frieren, if you try to light a fire now, you're gonna brick it." Sure enough, Frieren can't do squat, the magic stove is completely dead. Turns out, the thing in Frieren's hand is anti-magic or a super rare item. A crystal this pure has an area of effect of about 3 meters. Stark has to run more than 3 meters away just to get his mana back. Because this thing is ultra rare, a chunk that massive is enough to buy a whole fat mansion. Hearing the word money, our broke boy Stark's eyes light up like high beams. But the massive problem right now is that it's a walking silence debuff. Meaning, they absolutely cannot keep this liability in their inventory. Frieren demands they toss it immediately. Imagine if a raid boss or a monster pulls up and they have 0 mana, the whole squad would get turned into hamburger meat. So, Granny Frieren has to salty ly listen to her student and blast the rock to smithereens while Stark watches, crying inside over the lost fortune. We see them continue on foot, getting pretty close to the town. It's located past a big-ass forest and a volcanic zone. The volcano situation is a bit sus, but Frieren assures them it's been dormant for centuries, so it should be chill. Suddenly, while walking, the ground glitches out and collapses, probably due to shoddy construction, creating a massive sinkhole. They try to toggle fly hacks to float up, but because of the anti-magic rocks, a few seconds later the whole crew freefalls and faceplants into the abyss. Luckily, the team has a gigachad tank named Stark. This legend sacrificed his body as a human meat shield, helping Frieren and Frieren land softly, truly living the simp life. Down there, the place is lit up like a Christmas tree thanks to tons of glowing crystals. Probably magic stones growing on the ceiling. Stark sees a potential gold mine and tries to mine it with his axe, thinking he's gonna cash out and retire, but the rock is harder than getting a text back from your crush, didn't even leave a scratch. This cave is impossibly huge, with animal bones scattered everywhere like a graveyard. Frieren drops a bomb, casually stating that this is most likely the lair of a massive raid boss. After dropping that lore bomb, Grandma Frieren just goes AFK and knocks out cold, sleeping like a log with 0 chill. This nonchalant attitude has Frieren low-key panicking because right now she's disconnected from the server, literally 0 mana, completely offline. Frieren never mentioned this bug before, leaving Frieren feeling like she's trapped in the Shadow Realm. Suddenly, the ground shakes violently, and a kaiju-level monster spawns right in front of them. Stark frantically wakes Frieren up to bail and yeets her out of there before the beast can snack on them. Once Frieren gets a look at it, she identifies it as a poisonous predatory dragon, a super sweaty opponent and a toxic hard counter to Stark. 1 drop of that poison and Stark gets permanently banned from life, instant logout. Bro is shook, turning pale and fumbling his controls. He tries to blame Frieren for napping and not knowing what day it is, but she claps back immediately, declaring, "I already entrusted my boomer life to you. Ever since I recruited you as the main tank to draw aggro, that's how this guild operates." Stark thinks to himself that he's usually a coward who dips when things get heated, and right now he wants to disconnect faster than ever. Frieren then yells for everyone to tack sprint out of there. She uses that stone to pop a flashbang, blinding the monster, telling her teammates to close their eyes or get griefed. In that moment, Frieren has a flashback to the OG squad chilling with Himmel, Eisen, and Hyder, talking about how Eisen used to run away and abandon his village. Right then, they get ambushed by a dragon. Himmel Princess carries Frieren, and Hyder piggybacks Eisen, running for their lives. Back to reality, Stark is sprinting like he's on 1 HP until the squad escapes the cave. Frieren giggles, that was scary, but speedrunning and escape together is kinda a vibe. So, the squad splits up to loot and grind for food. Stark decides to go fishing like always. Cut to Fern and Frieren chilling at a natural hot spring. Before dipping in, Fern washes her bracelet and polishes the hairpin Frieren gave her until it's blinged out. Frieren realizes Fern treats her deer with respect and loves taking care of her inventory because they're gifts. Fern lost her home base and everything in the war, so she treasures the loot she has now. While they're having a heart-to-heart, Stark walks in with his fishing rod and accidentally gets a premium view total fan service moment. Frieren casually reminds Stark, I'm the one who forced you into this guild, remember? Then Fern stops at a fork in the road, announcing, this way is the northern plateau, that way is the neutral port. Since it's a main road, they don't have to worry about camping like hobos tonight. They enter the zone and get greeted by an old homie, Warble. He says this reunion happened faster than a speedrun. He thanks Stark for the assist with Yule, mentioning he took the sea route home. But the demons in the north are griefing the server again, so he has to go back. For example, right now he's escorting this kid and this girl to the imperial capital. The girl immediately roasts him for being a coward and getting seasick. Warble defends himself, claiming he hasn't hit his expiration date yet, he's only in his early 20s. Then he turns to Stark and asks if he's thought about the job offer. The meta in the north is intense right now, and they are desperately lacking tanks. He can't force him, but he wants to sponsor him for 2 to 3 years until the server stabilizes. Warble isn't a quitter, he's gonna try hard to protect the north. Stark replies instantly, like I said before, I'm the main tank for this party. Warble then pulls Stark aside for a private chat, trying to poach him from the team. Night falls, and Fern visits Stark. He confesses to her, I rejected Warble's offer. I want to follow my own main quest. When I first met you two, I was down bad rock bottom of society, mental state in the gutter. I was ready to rage quit the village. Frieren claims she forced me to join, but that's cap. You were the one who gave me the mental oxygen/copium I needed that fateful night. I wanted to go on this adventure with you, that's why I joined this party. Frieren wasn't the only one dragging me out here. I ain't going nowhere, so please chill out and stop being toxic to me. We see Frieren lurking nearby, grinning like she totally ships it, super happy. The next morning, Warble looks defeated, admitting he took the L on recruiting the kid. He asks if they're gonna take the luxury cruise ship. Stark immediately reports that the tickets are overpriced/pay-to-win, so they're broke. His master's old strat was just walking along the northern coast to save cash. Fern adds that they always take these weird, cursed side quests, wherever there's trouble, they dive in, specializing in taking the long route. Warble hits them with a deep line, sounds like your chaotic adventure is just the tutorial phase. Either way, they'll eventually drag themselves to the north. He promises a rematch/reunion one day, and then they go their separate ways. And that's the GG for today's episode. Before you dip, smash that subscribe button and ring the bell so you don't miss the next update. Catch you later, peace out. Starting off the episode, we catch up with the forever broke squad of the old soul Frieren, who are currently in the final stages of a financial nerf. To keep the road trip going and fill their empty stomachs, the group is forced to stop at a small village along the way. There, Frieren's eyes light up like high-beam headlights the second she spots a quest. She immediately claims the order for a job that sounds like pure community service, cleaning the village's hero statue. The wild part here is the pay. Instead of gold, jewels, or designer loot, the reward is a magic grimoire with a title so depressing it gives you second-hand embarrassment, magic that helps you scratch exactly where it itches on your back. Yeah, you heard that right. A bottom-tier, useless-ass spell that's probably only meant for lonely single Pringles with no one to scratch their backs. But for a junk-collecting addict like Frieren, this is a limited edition rare find. She nods yes in less than a second, faster than an ex-boyfriend switching sides, leaving Fern only able to shake her head in disappointment. Initially, young Stark, a certified fanboy of the hero Himmel, was hyped, eyes sparkling as he imagined cleaning a statue of his handsome, charismatic, and elegant idol. But when they arrive, he freezes up completely, the smile vanishing from his face. This statue isn't Himmel. Standing before them is a statue of a super goofy-looking middle-aged man with a bushy mustache, looking as legit and powerful as an old-school Japanese landlord. Seeing the two kids confused like who are you? I don't know you, please leave, the history professor and living witness Frieren finally speaks up to drop some lore. She explains that while Grandpa Himmel was the one who landed the last hit on the Demon King and was the MVP of the final match, long before that, there were plenty of other pro players opening the map and clearing out the mobs. And this mustache man is the hero of the South, the one rumored by the streets to be the strongest warrior of humanity. The title of humanity's strongest for this southern uncle isn't some fake clout bought with money. Checking his profile reveals achievements that are straight up peak, you'd want to kneel just hearing them. Back then, the terror of the entire Earth server was the 7 Sages of Destruction, the 7 strongest demons under the Demon King who occupied the North. Himmel's hero team struggled just to bonk the heads of 2 of them. As for the other 5, 3 were sent to the lobby single-handedly by this southern uncle. The peak of his career was a solo mission where he won Vol D the map, tanking the entire Demon King lineup. The result was a double knockout. He dragged them all down to the afterlife to be soulmates. Since the people never found his body, rumors spread that he might still be alive. But with her pragmatic and brutally honest personality, Frieren drops a hard truth that kills all hope. He was probably turned into sashimi by the demons, no body left to find. Actually, there's a world-shaking secret that Frieren has been gatekeeping for a long time. Back when she was an antisocial hermit living in the woods, this mustache uncle actually tracked her down to invite her to the party. But this guy wasn't normal. He had a map hack skill that could see the future, so he already knew the script said Frieren would reject him. No surprises there. Ignoring Frieren's cold-as-ice attitude, the uncle casually spoiled his own ending like he was telling a joke. He told her that within the next year, he would log out from the server at the northern plateau. My blood will stay in the white snow while my career is still unfinished. This is the universe's script. I've read the screenplay, so no amount of VIP top-ups or level grinding will change the finale. The real reason he went through the trouble of finding Frieren wasn't just to fill the party slot, but to leave a message and entrust her with the future. He said that after he died, a blue-haired kid named Himmel would come looking for her. He's the real main character who'll carry the team and save the world. I'm just the blood-donating tanker clearing the path and acting as a sandbag so the kids can shine. And that kid will be the one to change your difficult personality. The uncle accepts death just to open a path for humanity to live, a total boss move sacrifice. Cutting back to the present, 29 years since Himmel logged out, Frieren's squad road trips to a massive, bustling town in Earl Doc's territory. This time, Frieren is acting as US. She's rushing Stark and Frieren to buy supplies like they're chasing a deadline, and the second they're done, she wants to dip from the city ASAP. She's even dropping deep quotes about how time is limited and we shouldn't waste it. The two newbies, Stark and Frieren, are beyond confused, thinking the old lady is either having a midlife crisis or ate some toxic mushrooms. Normally, when she hits a cozy spot like this, she'd rot in bed for months and spend every cent before moving on. Turns out, the real reason is she's ghosting the Earl. She's scared of being asked for a favor. But you can't run from fate. Just as the carriage starts rolling, the butler blocks the path, flashing a friendly but totally forced smile, and escorts the whole squad back to the castle for tea. The dinner party is high-key luxury, the food is fire, wagyu beef and lobster all over the place. But Frieren's face is as salty as a bad teammate. She's eating like she's chewing straw. The reason she's over it is that, like clockwork, the Earl opens his mouth to ask for a favor, find the family's heirloom sword that a demon stole. Turns out, this family has a tradition of being trash tier at keeping their stuff. The great-grandfather lost the sword once, forcing Himmel to go find it. Now the grandson goes and loses it again. Talk about like father, like son. This legacy of being a total burden has tortured generations of heroes. Frieren remembers the old days when she was threatened with a life sentence if they didn't find the sword, so she's still salty and wants to cancel the contract. But the only reason Frieren accepts this quest isn't for the money or because she respects the Earl, it's because Himmel was the one who worked so hard to bring that sword back in the day. Grandpa Himmel, the ultimate husband material who never said no to anyone. If she rejects it now, her crush's hard work goes down the drain. So, Frieren sighs and gives the yes in a heartbeat. The next morning, Great Detective Frieren's team gets to work. After days of hiking and checking the map until their eyes are blurry, they find a village that's been completely deleted, with no one left and a vibe thick with death. In the middle of the ruins, a woman covered head to toe appears, claiming to be a traveling priestess. She says she was just passing through and saw the sword demon had brutally slaughtered the village, so she stayed to pray for the souls of the victims. This fake sister acts her heart out, crying a river and pulling out a cross necklace, inviting the group to fold their hands and pray together for solemnity. The innocent newbies, Stark and Frieren, follow along, but as they close their eyes, boom. A deafening explosion goes off. Frieren doesn't say a word. She pulls her staff and fires a blast straight at the grave right in front of the priestess, dust flying everywhere. Frieren and Stark's jaws hit the floor, thinking their master has lost her mind. But Frieren calmly checks the VAR with zero chill. She declares, there's no damn body under there to pray for. You're the sword demon, not a priestess. You're doing too much, sis. Did you really think you were going to bait us? Exposed, the demon realizes she can't trick this tough old lady and shows her true form. She doesn't even deny it, pulling out the heirloom sword to flex. I ate them all. I'd rather chew on your bones than keep eating mid-food. This monster has a sick obsession with eating humans, nothing else hits for her. Combat breaks out instantly. Gotta admit, even though this demon is a fake sister priestess, her sword skills are sharp and her speed is god tier. She dashes like a Yasuo ganking at 15 minutes, almost poking a hole in Frieren. Frieren panics, her brain hasn't even loaded a shield spell yet, then BAM. Stark, with the instincts of a true tank, lunges out just in time to parry. He uses his giga-sized axe to yeet the demon away like a plastic ball, saving his boss from a definite L. The moment the demon is sent flying and leaves an opening, Frieren, the ultimate cleanup pro, unleashes her finisher. A beam of light pierces through, sending her to the lobby and logging her out permanently in a split second. Frieren recovers and asks why her master blasted the grave. What if there was a real person inside? Frieren explains a day one lesson: when you guys pray, you close your eyes, right? That moment you close your eyes to find peace is the exact moment she'd shish kebab you. I had to shut her down before she even started. A total gangster move from the big sis. After finishing the job, the squad returns the sword to the Earl. He's hyped, thanking them profusely with tears streaming down his face, just like his great-grandfather back in the day. Stark scratches his head, wondering why this sword is such a trouble magnet. Keeping it in the house is basically an invite for demons to come rob and kill everyone. Why not just yeet it or melt it down for scrap metal? Frieren shakes her head and drops a moral meets military lecture. She says, it's not that simple. Lil bro demons love to flex their power and collect heat. The flashier the item, the more they want it. If we just toss it and a demon loots it, we're even more cooked. Keeping the sword here under heavy guard is actually a bait to lure demons, and so generations of heroes can delete them. Even though it's risky for the locals, that's the mission this town has to shoulder. And as long as there are people ready to pick up weapons and protect like us, this sword stays here. Sounds deep as hell. And finally, the most important part, the paycheck. What's the reward the Earl gives for saving the entire town and risking their lives against a demon? Gold, diamonds, or land? Nope. It's a magic book that teaches you how to turn a red apple into a green apple. Meaning, it turns a sweet, ripe apple into a sour, raw one. Amazing. Once again, Frieren proves her salty taste in magic. It sounds as bland and brainless as the back-scratching spell at the start of the episode, but Frieren is all smiles, absolutely vibing with it. That's the end of the show. If you enjoyed this, give the shop a subscribe and a like so I can keep making the next episodes. Bye-bye. If there's one thing that could make Hero Himmel, the man who fears neither heaven nor earth and carried the fight against the Demon King, shiver in absolute terror, it's definitely the sight of old lady Frieren crying. And she doesn't just do a light, graceful teardrop. Once the 1,000-year-old mage opens the floodgates, she sobs for 3 days and 3 nights straight. No one can calm her down. It's a total RIP situation that leaves the whole team depressed. Back to the harsh reality, all that stands before Frieren's squad right now is a rickety shack, sitting lonely in the middle of nowhere. With the sharp intuition of an old lady who's seen it all, Frieren starts sensing some bad omens. Turns out, this area, rumored by travel bloggers to be a hot spring paradise, officially went bankrupt and closed down 30 years ago. The once bustling tourist village is now as deserted as a ghost town. The springs are bone dry without a single drop of water, and tourists dipped ages ago. Now, if they want a 5-star rest stop, they have to trek for another week to reach the next village. Just hearing that is enough to make your blood pressure drop. It's straight up depressing. Right at the most desperate moment, a mysterious NPC old man spawns in and whispers a massive secret to the group. Supposedly, 30 years ago, deep in the mountains, there still existed a secret spring, a hidden hot spring no one has exploited, rumored to be the essence of heaven and earth. Actually, Frieren is no stranger to this middle-of-nowhere spot. Back in the day with Himmel and the gang, they stopped by here too. It's tucked away in the deep forest, the path is harder than climbing to heaven, and the service quality is a total hit or miss. Himmel back then was a certified troublemaker, poking his nose into every corner and forcing the team to chase after him until they were out of breath just to drag him back. So Frieren knows perfectly well that finding that spring wastes more time and calories than just walking to the next village. She was about to back out and plan a smooth exit to save her energy. But man proposes, God disposes. Young Stark suddenly gets a brain blast and his thirst for adventure flares up. The kid says since they're already here, they should just send it and go see what this secret spring actually looks like. Who knows, it might be top tier. This curious personality is exactly like Himmel's. Whenever he sees something weird, he dives in regardless of the consequences, ignoring whether the path involves climbing mountains, crossing rivers, or trekking through monster nests. So, under the nagging of the youth, the whole team decides to pull a U-turn, change direction, and head through the eerily quiet forest and over mountain passes that make your legs want to snap. And sure enough, they hadn't been walking long before history repeated itself exactly according to the script. The group hears a roar that shakes the earth, sending birds flying everywhere. A massive 3-headed monster appears to block the way, looking to collect a toll. Based on the interface, you'd think it's a cool-looking dragon, but Frieren with her pro eyes exposes it immediately as a fake lizard, just a grade B knockoff. But then again, it's still pretty annoying because it has a super toxic regeneration mechanic. You have to chop off all 3 heads at the same time for it to log out, otherwise they just grow back like mushrooms after a rain. This match was a bit high stakes for a newbie like Stark, but Frieren already had the strat ready in her head. She sent Stark running for his life in one direction to draw the monster's aggro, while she casually flew into the sky to drop the finishing move. Coordinating like clockwork, the hybrid lizard was quickly sent to the lobby, serving as XP for the team to level up. Having cleared the final gate, the 3 of them dragged their tired bodies to their destination. And just as Frieren predicted, the so-called legendary secret spring was actually the scam of the century, a total slap in the face for the dreamers. It was just a tiny, shallow puddle, barely enough to soak your feet so they don't smell, definitely not enough for a real bath. Surprisingly, Stark didn't show any disappointment or saltiness. The kid stripped off his socks, dipped his feet in the water, and gave a goofy laugh, saying this was actually fine because now the guys and girls could soak together, which is a vibe. Turns out behind that innocent smile was a whole sky of thoughts. Stark had heard Master Eisen talk about this trip before. Eisen said climbing a mountain until you're out of breath just to soak your feet was a total waste of energy and purely brain dead, but as long as it's an adventure with homies, no matter how stupid it is, it becomes a priceless memory, frozen like amber in time. He said the view that appeared before his eyes then was something he'd never forget his whole life. It was because of his master's romantic storytelling that Stark was so obsessed with finding it. Maybe he wanted to see the view his master saw with his own eyes, or maybe he just wanted to create warm memories for himself with the current Frieren squad. A truly deep guy behind that clueless exterior. However, while climbing back down the mountain, the kid started feeling regret because he was gasping for air. The price for romance was pretty steep, and his legs were about to go on strike. A few days later, the group arrived at the bustling fortress city of Hayes. Since arriving, Frieren revealed her true form as a certified bath addict, soaking in the hot springs every day until her skin wrinkled, and spending her free time lurking in magic shops, refusing to move on. In her free time, Fern started dropping hints hard, saying she was free all day tomorrow. Her intent was clear as day, she wanted to be asked on a date. Fern never in her wildest dreams expected that the walking piece of wood, the 1,000-year-old rock named Stark, would suddenly have a big brain moment. Normally his EQ is in the negatives, but today Stark caught the signal instantly and boldly claimed the order by inviting her out. So now it was Stark's turn to sweat bullets because he was panicking hard. He talked big and invited her out, but now he was just standing there like an NPC, not knowing what to do next, where to go, or what to eat. Truly a newbie in the dating game. After finishing her soak, Frieren came back to find Stark looking totally deflated, moping around because he thought he'd upset Fern. Having no other choice and being totally desperate, he had to swallow his pride and go ask great ancestor Frieren for advice. Stark shyly asked a hypothetical question about what she'd think if he asked her out on a date. Frieren loaded her 1,000-year-old brain for a moment and then judged that she'd probably just exclaim, "Wow, Stark is all grown up," and then happily take him out for something yummy. After hearing that, Stark knew instantly that the old lady's advice was completely worthless, better to trash it immediately. This vibe was exactly like a grandma taking her favorite grandson to the park for cotton candy. There wasn't a drop of romantic dating energy in sight. The moment the word grandma left Stark's mouth, Frieren immediately pulled out her death note and marked him with a massive scar. Last time he called her a smelly old hag, and now he upgraded her to grandma. She gave him a look that could burn, giving a light warning that if there's a third time, things are going to get messy, so he better watch his mouth or he's catching a staff to the head. After the light intimidation, Frieren started showing off her elite strategist level by listing potential dating spots. Rule number 1, first, you gotta take her to the market to eat something. You can't be romantic on an empty stomach. Because if little Fern gets hungry, she gets tilted and goes chaos mode instantly, and once her mood drops, you'll be dating a demon. Rule number 2, don't skip the street food stalls or the bakeries. Fern has loved those since she was a kid, and as long as you keep her mouth full of food, she's happy. Rule number 3, stop by a jewelry shop, because what girl doesn't love shiny things? Guaranteed, Fern will totally fall for it. Stark was beyond shocked, his jaw dropping because he didn't expect Frieren to understand Fern's preferences so well. He thought she was totally oblivious. But in reality, all these cheat codes were drilled into Frieren's head by the priest Hyder, a certified daughter-obsessed dad. Looking back, it seems Hyder always hoped Frieren could become a second mother figure, caring for and understanding Fern after he passed, so whenever he had the chance, he'd flex about his precious daughter's habits. When night fell, Fern also crept over to find Frieren to ask for help from the love consultation team. She was shy, stuttering forever before daring to ask if her master, who's lived for 1,000 years and through so much history, had any dating experience tucked away. Frieren answered perfectly chill, with a straight face, of course. Fern was frozen for 5 seconds, unable to believe that this 1,000-year-old single lady, the great oak tree of the Forever Alone village, had actually been on a date. Frieren calmly recalled that back then, she and Himmel went searching for a lost cat for a magic shop owner. According to Frieren's innocent as heck perspective, as long as you go out alone with a guy you know, it counts as a date. Fern was speechless and didn't know whether to laugh or cry, feeling like she just got hit with a bucket of cold water. In her eyes, that's just doing a job for cash, just grinding a quest. How on earth is that a romantic date? Getting such a miss-the-mark answer, Fern sadly gave up, deciding to just solo it because trusting her master would be a disaster. And that's the end of this episode. If you want to see the toothachingly sweet and romantic date of this puppy-love couple, you'll just have to wait until next week. Bye-bye. The next morning, before the rooster could even crow, Fern was already up early prepping for the date of destiny. She stood in front of her wardrobe feeling as restless as someone sitting on a hot stove, picking back and forth but still feeling totally lost. Desperate times called for desperate measures, so Fern finally asked for advice from Master Frieren. But the struggle was real. This 1,000-year-old lady couldn't care less about fashion. She was just lounging around, whining for her apprentice to braid her hair. Fern was already tilted, and while she was braiding, her anger rose to her throat. Her hands involuntarily tightened on her master's locks like she wanted to yank them all out just to vent her frustration. Finally, after 7749 tries, Fern claimed the order on her favorite outfit. She meticulously adjusted every single detail until the interface was clean as heck before she was satisfied. Outside, young Stark was waiting with a nervous mindset like he was waiting for college entrance exam results. When Fern stepped out with confident vibes and glowing beauty, Stark was frozen for 5 seconds, his soul leaving his body because he was so shook by the visual. The two led each other into the town center. The atmosphere right then was a bit awkward and forced, but also pretty sweet. Today Fern dressed up so elegantly that it was illegal, leaving Stark completely confused and making his limbs feel like jelly. Stark stole glances at Fern and saw her shining like the one and only white moonlight of his life, walking as stiffly as a robot with a dead battery. Stark planned to take her to the market, the spot Fern usually lurked because of her passion for weird and unique magic artifacts. Fern was obsessed and wanted to buy out one item after another, while Stark could only stand there looking helpless. Thinking back to Master Frieren, oh man, she just keeps diving into piles of sleep magic in the most insane and quirky way possible. Stark started feeling a bit bored with life because their conversation kept revolving around their master. Wanting to change the vibe, Stark invited Fern to go eat, but she wasn't hungry yet, so he led her into a jewelry shop instead. Fern had already set her eyes on a gold couple's necklace with a gorgeous glass stone. But right at that moment, Stark flipped on serious mode, yapping and analyzing the practical benefits of the necklace. After hearing that, Fern's mood dropped to the floor, so she put it down immediately. Right after, another couple walked in and snatched the necklace up. Fern watched them with pure regret and sadness, but she had to just keep following Stark since there was nothing else she could do. Seeing the vibe dipping, Stark led her to buy some piping hot buns to soothe her mood. They went to find a spot to sit and eat, but unluckily for her, Fern tripped over a rock. Luckily, Stark's reflexes were fast as lightning, catching her just in time so she didn't kiss the dirt. That protected moment made Fern's heart catch feelings and flutter like crazy. Stark was also observant enough to realize that Fern's shoes looked fire but were high-key hard to walk in. After stuffing their faces, the two went to look at the town's Lord Himmel statue with nostalgic hearts, then enjoyed some sweet dessert together. As twilight fell, Stark took Fern to the exact $1 million view their master suggested so they could watch the sunset and have a heart-to-heart. They started yapping about the master's respected Lord Himmel again. Fern realized that from the start until now, the conversation had been all about Frieren, but since the scenery was beautiful and the space was chill as heck, she just let it slide and didn't bother. Stark saw that Fern looked a bit down, and he was low-key panicking because she hadn't smiled once during the whole outing. Even though they went to all the spots she liked, Stark felt like she was acting super weird today. Stark sadly apologized and straight up confessed that all these locations were suggested by the master, because he truly wanted to make her happy. Hearing that, Fern understood the sincere heart of this fool, feeling unusually warm inside, and she let out a small, happy smile, pure couple goals energy everywhere. The two sat together until it was almost dark. They looked at a cloud shaped like the bun they ate earlier and burst out laughing. Coming from an orphan background, Stark never thought he'd have moments this relaxed and peaceful. It was all thanks to Lord Hyder and Master Eisen. He remembered when he was little, Eisen kindly cooked for him. Even though he was a picky eater, thanks to his master's warm encouragement, he cleared his plate. Despite being young, Stark soon realized he was just someone who was picked up. And Eisen did that simply because Lord Himmel used to do it, so he was just following his idol's lead. At night, the master and Fern soaked in the hot spring together. The master tried to pry and ask if the date was fun, but Fern kept that joy low-key for herself. The master suddenly remembered a memory with Lord Himmel when the two stood on high ground watching the sunset. His face was happy as a kid on Christmas. To him, searching for a lost cat with her was the best day ever. Even though they didn't find the cat in the end, for Himmel, the joy was in the journey together. Just as she finished the sentence, the lost cat suddenly spawned in, and the three of them went back to chasing each other like a Tom and Jerry cartoon. The three of them left the town, continuing their journey toward another settlement. Today, seeing the master with her hair braided, you already know she's vibing, even though her face is still as cold as ice like every other day. As they pushed into the northern lands, the further they got from the volcanic belt, the more the temperature dropped. It was bone-chilling cold. They reached the northern plateau checkpoint, where the rules are strict because things are getting increasingly chaotic outside. Since it'll be hard to buy normal stuff soon, they took the chance to hoard all the essentials, from magic items to veggies and fruits. It's total dark magic how the master's tiny suitcase can magically fit the whole world inside like a Doraemon pocket. At the checkpoint, Frieren handed over her papers and got cleared in a snap thanks to her first-class mage tag, the absolute peak of the mage world right now. They headed deep into the forest. Stark had just started flexing that this northern plateau forest looked mid and wasn't dangerous like the rumors said. As soon as he finished speaking, karma hit instantly. The whole squad was surrounded by fierce monsters. The master and Fern quickly pulled out their staves and cast magic to clear the path. Stark also swung his axe to slash through the monsters while Fern constantly spammed spells to support the team. But as soon as they took another step, they stepped on a weird earth monster that sprouted up from the ground. Walking further, they ran into a giant multi-eyed snake. It used hypnosis magic that made Stark look as zoning out as if he were high. Luckily, Fern stayed woke and realized it, dragging him away just in time. Once they reached a cave, Stark finally breathed a sigh of relief. Fern quickly started a fire to warm up, while the master had already passed out and was sleeping like she'd been deleted. Suddenly, from the shadows, a creepy Batman monster appeared, ready to make the whole team log out. Luckily, their brains had a quickfire moment. They grabbed the sleeping master by the armpits and ran for their lives to stay alive. After reaching a settlement, Stark was absolutely exhausted, with dark circles under his eyes like a panda because he'd had to stay alert for 3 days and 3 nights straight. They went to ask the homeowner for a place to crash. Luckily, there was a small vacant house, but the guy wanted to ask for a huge favor. Turns out, on the main road ahead, there's a giga-sized monster that even the self-defense force leader couldn't handle, making the locals too scared to travel. This land is truly for people who are built different or just have rocks in their heads. The man desperately begged them to delete the monster to save the people. The master agreed right then and there, since they were passing through anyway, might as well take out the trash. Stark wondered why they didn't just move somewhere else to live a chill life. Heading south for 3 days would get them out of this middle-of-nowhere spot. The old man pensively said he was right, this place is easily one of the most dangerous spots in the north. But this is where they were born and raised, they can't just up and leave because it holds so many sacred family memories. Hearing that, Stark was caught off guard and finally understood the ride-or-die connection the man had for his land and village. The next morning, they shared a sentimental goodbye with the old man and hit the road. While walking, they spotted a horse running the opposite way for its life. Up ahead, the scene was even more eerie. The terrifying monster was casually munching on some flesh. It noticed the uninvited guests and immediately turned around, sword in hand, heading toward Frieren's squad. They hyped themselves up, focusing hard for the combat. The monster threw a straight kick, but Stark bravely tanked it. He lunged at it, and while the monster slashed wildly, Stark's dodge skills were smooth as butter, neutralizing every move. The master saw things were getting dicey and flew into the air, planning to drop some magic. But oh boy, this monster could fly too. It soared into the air and landed a hit on the master, forcing her to fall back. Frieren tried some sniper magic, but the monster dodged every single shot, which started to rattle her. It even smashed through her protective barrier, sending Frieren flying back. Seeing the critical situation, Stark rushed over to shield Frieren like a total legend. The monster planned to drop another hit to finish the couple off. But Frieren was quick, creating a shield and turning the debris into a swarm of brilliant butterflies that distracted the monster and made it lose its focus. From above, the master ambushed it, using piercing magic that it couldn't react to, severing one of its arms. Tilted as hell, it ripped out a huge tree to attack, but Stark was quick as a flash, lunging forward and chopping the wood to bits. He climbed onto the monster, locking his axe around its neck until it started flailing. From high above, the master dropped the last hit move, sending the monster into the lobby as it turned to ash. After the match, Stark was still in one piece thanks to the protective barrier. He complained that they were only at the gateway to the north and he was already exhausted. How were they gonna survive if even stronger monsters spawned later? He said he'd rather just pay for a boat to skip the monsters. But the master just gave a gentle smile, remembering the days with Team Himmel. Back then, she was exactly like Stark, wondering why they didn't just take the sea route. Himmel replied that it was because he wanted to be a hero and protect his own hometown as well as everyone else's. And this northern plateau is also the hometown of many people. Stark thought back to the old man and the kind locals, remembering how he was raised as a kid, and he finally understood a bit of the Lord's ideals. They continued their journey. This time, they caught the W only because Stark risked his life to tank the hits. The squad realized they needed to buff their coordination even more. After walking for a bit, the two turned back and saw young Stark sitting flat on the ground, totally helpless, his limbs feeling like jelly because he'd carried the team way too hard. In the end, the village where the old man hosted them was finally stable and peaceful once again. After 80 long-ass years, meeting an old friend again felt like a stab to the heart. The dwarf instinctively glanced at Frieren, but looking around, not a single soul from the original hardcarry squad was left. He asked how that alcoholic bro Hyder was doing these days. Frieren replied perfectly chill, her voice as light as a feather as if she were telling some ancient fairy tale. But the old dwarf caught the vibe immediately. That tiny detail in her words was actually an eternal goodbye. Year 29 after the hero Himmel logged out of the server. Team Frieren checked in at the northern plateau. This town is a rare spawn, being the only rice bowl in the area, so the alcohol industry is basically stonks and thriving like crazy. Young Stark heard the rumors about Bosshaft wine and his jaw dropped from pure curiosity. Frieren dug through her memories, remembering how back in the day, old man Hyder used to cap about a great empire and a top-tier wine reserved only for kings. She recalled Hyder being salty at the whole world, looking unrated as hell, saying it was Frieren's fault he missed out on that legendary drinking session. As they were about to dip, a dwarf blocked Frieren's path. Hearing her cold voice reporting that Hyder had passed away, the dwarf suddenly realized 80 years really is as long as a century. This old man fast bragged that he'd finally found the Bosshaft wine vault, and now he just needed a human-powered lockpicking machine like Frieren to step in. After saying that, he led the squad down a tunnel he'd dug solo. Truly an ultimate persistent drunkard, this alcohol addict fast spent over 200 years of his life just hunting for a jar of wine. Frieren remembered the last time they met. He also asked for help finding wine, but back then Frieren was busy crushing a deadline to delete the Demon King, so she gave a straight-up no. She remembered Hyder throwing a total tantrum, acting like a drama queen and causing a scene before he finally agreed to move on. Coming out of the tunnel, they reached the ruins. Frieren spotted a stone tablet carved in ancient elf. Luckily, since I was a tiny kid, Master Frieren already brainwashed me with this stuff. Half of the magic books are written in elf anyway, so if you're not literate, you'll basically be eating dirt and won't get anything done. The content of the tablet was just template text praising Boshaft wine to the skies, signed by Mirialia. Frieren saw the name and it looked low-key familiar, like she knew this lady and was privy to some secret. Fast didn't even care about Frieren's attitude, just dragging the whole squad to the wine vault. The catch was that the door was locked with a super VIP probe barrier. This was exactly why he needed to hit up the 1,000-year-old elf lady. Frieren put her hand up to check the bar on the barrier, then dropped a cold-blooded RIP, or rather, she said she could open it but it would take forever, and she was scared the two kids would get salty from waiting. Fass heard that and started sweating bullets, immediately claiming the order with a sky-high price of 20 gold coins to bribe her. Yet Frieren still turned her back to ghost the deal, almost giving the old man a stroke. But the two disciples weren't about to let that money slide, trying their best to gas up Frieren. Fern cried out, "Master Frieren, 20 gold coins. That's 20 gold coins right there." Young Stark chimed in too, "That's a literal fortune. We'd be living large and wouldn't have to worry about starving for a long time." But Frieren replied with a deadpan face, "Well, yeah, but breaking this seal will probably take like 3 months." Without letting her say another word, Fern and Stark judged, 3 months is fast as heck, what are you talking about? Locked in. We're taking this deal. A few days later, the whole team camped out in the town. Every day, Frieren went out to sit and figure out how to hack the barrier. It was almost time to break the door down, but Fern saw her master's face looking down bad like she'd just caught an L. After asking gently, Frieren finally spat out the brutal truth. Turns out that Boshaft wine tastes like trash and isn't worth trading a whole lifetime for. As for those template lines of praise on the stone tablet, they were just the product of some bored-ass elves having a midlife crisis and writing for fun to kill time. And the author was none other than Mirialia, an acquaintance of Frieren. In Frieren's memories, this lady spent all her time zoning out by herself. An elf's lifespan is long as hell, so if you don't find something to do to stop the boredom, you're cooked, just like Frieren's habit of collecting random, useless magic. And to kill time, Mirialia carved on the stone that Boshaft wine was the best in the world. As for why she did it, even she didn't know why. Truly unreal. Finally, it was time to open the door. Frieren raised her hand, scanning it like she was searching for a safe password, and boom, the stone door swung wide open, revealing the carefully preserved wine vault. Old man Fass eagerly popped a bottle to celebrate the victory. But the second he took a sip, his face was frozen like glue. Frieren stood there looking at the bottle in her hand, suddenly remembering a question she asked Hyder ages ago: if you spent your whole youth searching for the wine of your dreams, only to find out it tastes like trash, what would you do? The response from the legendary drunkard Hyder was simple as hell: just laugh it off, then invite the homies to drink that garbage water together for the vibes. At this point, old man Fass had to admit, it tastes brutally bad, an insult to whoever drinks it, legit the worst liquid in the entire world. Seeing young Stark standing there peeking, the dwarf refused to suffer alone. He fake invited the kid to check the var, telling him to take a glass to feel the bitterness of life. Stark, hearing a review that sounded like straight-up rat poison, got scared sideways and begged for mercy, saying no one could swallow something that nasty. But under the pressure of the elder, Stark had to just close his eyes and go for it. As soon as he swallowed, the kid's face got all twisted like a monkey eating a chili, and he blurted out absolutely disgusting from the bottom of his soul because of that horrific taste. Only then did old man Fass nod and admit that drinking this stuff would probably give you depression. However, since the inventory was still stacked, he plotted to drag the whole town into shared suffering so they could all go down together for the fun of it. This wine hunt was a total fail in terms of quality, but he swore he'd never had a night this lit in his life. Luckily Frieren's squad was there. Honestly, the taste of the alcohol doesn't even matter, it's all about the drinking vibe. When the vibe is right, even drinking plain water feels satisfying. Saying goodbye to old man Fass, the three of them continued their journey to the west. Today, the squad took a break for lunch with a $1 million view, surrounded by a romantic autumn landscape, but the food was, oh boy, a piece of bread as hard as a rock. If you threw this at a dog, the dog would log out immediately. Yet for a whole week, young Stark has been struggling to gnaw on it. Seeing this, Big Sis Frieren comforted him, telling him to just keep gobbling it down, because once they pass this area, they'll hit a giga-sized fortress where they can eat all the busts and food they want. Finally, the trio reached Norm City, the shipping hub of the Northern Plateau. The Norm Merchant Guild here are the local final bosses, dripping with power. In a rare move, Frieren actually told her disciples to keep it low-key and not start any drama. But the second they stepped through the gate, karma hit them like a truck. The staff stared her down like they were checking the var on an X, then looked down at a wanted poster. Turns out a drawing of Frieren was posted right there, sitting at the same table as a bunch of wanted criminals. Before they could even get settled, the whole squad was carried straight to the Merchant Guild Hall. President Norm cut to the chase, demanding Frieren settle a debt from the Heroes Party from 80 years ago. Frieren pulled out her entire net worth, exactly 23 gold coins, lined them up on the table, and even flexed by saying, "Your great-grandfather helped me out a lot, so you can keep the change." The president was frozen like glue for a few seconds before dropping a cold truth: "This isn't even enough to cover the interest, Grandma." So it was game over. Frieren sadly said she'd probably have to be a wage slave for 300 years and the journey ends here. While Fern and Stark were still confused, asking where their clothes and bags went, Frieren coolly told them everything was repoed for the debt. I buy you too, take care of yourselves. Seeing her master getting hauled away, Fern tried to find a way to bail her out, but when she asked the Lord, she was floored. With interest snowballing for 80 years, the total debt was now over 500 gold coins. At that price, even selling everyone's kidneys wouldn't cover the bill. Meanwhile, apprentice miner Frieren arrived at the assembly point. Some tough guy guards surrounded her, thinking they could bully an old lady. But little did they know, her job wasn't to dig dirt like a beast, but to be a human-powered metal detector. The Lord went through the trouble of snatching her just to have her locate the direction of the silver vein. She even clapped back, asking if they knew who she was before they started bossing her around. Frieren flexed her outclassed power immediately. Suddenly the lights cut out, and blue light sparks appeared everywhere like they were in outer space. Finally, a beam of light shot out from her staff. Target found. Truly a top-tier human metal detector. Turns out the current President Norm's great-grandfather was actually a noble exile to the borderlands. From this middle-of-nowhere land, he built an empire from scratch, founded the Norm Merchant Guild, and became a northern hero. Back then, nobody cared about Himmel's hero party, and he was the only sugar daddy providing unlimited funding. The current grandson president is also down bad and struggling. Monsters are running wild, making it impossible for shippers to deliver orders, the logistics system is totally trashed, and the soldier count has taken over a 30% hit. But as long as there's capital, there's a chance to clutch it back. When he heard Frieren was visiting, he immediately remembered that 80-year-old debt note that he thought was just scrap paper. As long as they find the silver mine, the giga-sized profits will cover everything, and the 80-year debt will be officially voided. Deep down, Frieren totally understood that if the shipping network collapsed, the locals would literally starve to death. So she stayed hush-hush, pretending to be a compliant debtor and playing along to help find the mine. A few days later, they actually struck silver, and Frieren was set free. It's a good thing they finished early, because a few days later, Fern and Stark were already planning to raid the vault, break her out of jail, and go bloody mode on the mine. Episode 5 ends right here. Watching without subbing is a literal crime. Please smash that subscribe button and the notification bell so the shop stays motivated to grind and drop more videos for all the homies. Bye-bye. What's up, everyone? Season 2, Episode 6 of Frieren, Beyond Journey's End is officially live. Before we dive into the lore, do me a solid and smash that like button and hit subscribe to keep the vibes high. Are you guys locked in? If you're ready, let's gear up and get straight to the action. Episode 6 kicks off with a village that's been absolutely trashed after a visit from the demon race. Everything is straight up leveled. The next morning, Jeannot pulls up to check the receipts. Walking into a house, he's cornered by a demon sobbing and begging for mercy, claiming he's got a young son waiting for him back home. Jeannot isn't buying the drama for a second. He tells the guy to pipe down because he's heard that script 1,000 times already, and promptly sends the demon to the permanent lobby. He scouts the house, muttering to himself, so where's this kid then? Basically, if you're gonna cap, at least make the lie believable. Stepping outside to see the city looking like a total junkyard, Jeannot sighs. His boss, Suri, gave him the KPI to wipe out the demons, but by the time he arrived, his hometown was already a dumpster fire. Even though he's not exactly the sentimental type, seeing his old stomping grounds and ruins has him low-key deep in his feelings. Mid-contemplation, he hears a voice. His childhood bestie is pinned under the rubble, wheezing out, "Jeannot, is that you?" Jeannot nods and hoists his friend onto his back. The friend laments that the demons wrecked the village, but Jeannot just hits him with the facts. "I know, I already cleared the server of them." When the friend asks about the others, Jeannot reassures him that everyone is safe and that he'll be back on his feet in no time. V brought along a top-tier first-class mage who can even use goddess magic. One buff from her and those wounds will be ancient history. But seriously, bro, learn to bake some decent bread. I'm tired of chewing on rocks lately. Though, honestly, I'll eat whatever moldy crust you've got. I'm pretty low maintenance like that. Inside the church, Method is busy praying among a sea of wounded soldiers. Jeannot walks in with his friend but drops the cold, hard truth. "Don't worry about my feelings, he checked out a long time ago." By the time Jeannot found him, the abdominal wounds were already past the point of no return. Even a legendary healer couldn't have clutched that one. Yet, there he was, gripping me like his life depended on it. Real day one energy right there. He was the son of the local baker, my childhood ride or die. Now, I'll never get to taste that bread again. His whole squad is reunited in the afterlife, so at least he's not lonely. But man, it bites. Why do the civilians always get deleted while we're still here? They were just chill people, not fighters. If anyone should have taken the L, it should have been elite first-class mages like me. Method tries to ease the guilt, pointing out that by the time the Norm Knight sent the SOS, the village was already cooked. It's not on him. Jeannot, looking stone-cold, moves to head back out on patrol, but Method tells him to take a breather. Jeannot shuts it down immediately. "Pipe down, my eyes and ears just got taken out nearby." He's clocked 3 signatures, 1 warrior and 2 mages. Method is shook. 2 mages, for real? Jeannot nods, noting their mana is actually cracked, asking if she thinks they're hostiles. Before he can finish, Frieren spawns in. Janot clocks her instantly and guesses the second mana signature belongs to Frieren, another first-class mage. Frieren is just standing there like, who's this? Method and Janot, the proctor from the exams, right? She mentioned she felt some serious bloodlust from his magic and low-key thought he was a demon. Janot apologizes for the mix-up, and Method admits she was renting for a second there too. Frieren cools the tension, telling Frieren it's all good, they're just mutuals. She tells her apprentice to give Stark the heads up. Frieren follows orders like a pro. Method asks if Frieren is also on that delete the demons KPI. Frieren just shrugs, saying they're camping out on the northern plateau anyway. Then she asks, so, what's the status report? Janot turns around, sees Stark, and asks if he's mid-prayer. Stark snaps back, you got a problem with that? Janot just shakes his head, no beef here. Stark gets sentimental, sharing that his village also got wiped off the map by demons back in the day. Janot just nods, he feels that pain on a spiritual level. Stark is confused, demons eat humans, so why are the bodies still here and intact? It's exactly like what happened when his village got jumped. Janot just shrugs, he's stumped too. Apparently, even when these monsters are full, they still love a good slaughter. It makes zero sense. Frieren tries to wrap it up, so you two already cleared the server of demons in this village, right? Frieren sighs, feeling the late arrival guilt, saying they moved at max speed but still missed the window. Method adds that Janot still has one last side quest to finish. Janot points to a pile of bodies, the remains of the Norm Knights. Frieren remembers them, they were the mercenaries hired by the Merchant Guild. Frieren is low-key unimpressed by the head count, calling the squad size pretty mid. Janot claps back, explaining that for a tiny village, this was actually the meta setup. These guys weren't just random NPCs either, their power levels were way above average, especially the captain, who's been the literal carry for the team for years. Even Frieren drops a compliment, saying their stats were actually out-tiering Stark. Stark, feeling the disrespect, gets defensive like, hey, stop acting like I'm some level 1 scrub. Frieren starts grilling Janot on the cause of death. He reveals that based on his forensic magic, every single person was taken out by sword slashes. This wasn't the work of some low-level demon mobs, the boss who raided this village is definitely still in the server. The good news, this mission isn't going to be a waste of time. Frieren nods, locked and loaded, alright, let's get to work. Time to show them the true wrath of humanity. The camera cuts to Frieren and Frieren. Frieren breaks down the strategy, noting that usually, demons are trash at hiding their mana, they can only incognito mode for so long before they glitch out. For now, the village outskirts are safe, which lets Frieren breathe a sigh of relief. Frieren adds that Janot pointed out the usual demon spawn points, and they're going to full send it there. But first, no hunger, no glory, it's time for dinner. Stark takes one look at his dinner and groans, are you serious, we're back to eating these rock bread bricks? Frieren tells him to suck it up since the supply lines are still disconnected. Right then, Method pulls up asking where Janot went. She figures he's still at the church and offers to bring him his portion. Frieren takes the chance to ask for a deeper analysis of the enemy's build, wanting to know their exact specs. Stark volunteers for the bread delivery and vanishes. Frieren circles back to the intel, so, what's the final verdict on the analysis? Method admits that mapping out the enemy's exact structure will take a minute, but one thing is already fact-checked and 100% certain. Frieren nods, ready to gear up and lock in the tactics, but seriously, dinner first. Outside the church, Janot is catching some air when Stark spawns in. Janot asks you leaving already, and Stark's like, nah bro, it's chow time. The two of them start gnawing on their bread, with Janot complaining that it's hard as a diamond. Stark asks what he's been up to, and Janot explains that the demon raid broke the church's barrier, so he just buffed it with a new, high-tier shield. After all, the villagers' bodies are still resting inside. Stark is confused and asks why they're just leaving them there. He offers to do the heavy lifting and help bury them, but Janot gets quiet. He tells Stark that people new to the north always get laggy about this. The cold truth is, most villages on the northern plateau don't even have cemeteries. If you actually find one, it's usually tucked away inside a heavily fortified city or some high-tier noble tomb protected by an elite barrier. For the common folk, they just mass ship the bodies to a collective cemetery down south in the plateau, a low mob zone where monsters don't spawn as much, and hire the Norm Knights to act as a security detail for the transport. Want to know why? Stark just shakes his head, completely clueless. Janot breaks it down, if you let your guard down for even a second, the scent of decay acts like a literal lure for a monster swarm. Once that happens, the scene turns into straight-up nightmare fuel, they'll tear everything apart until there isn't even a fragment of bone left in the server. Lately, the Norm Corporation has been lobbying the locals to switch over to cremation to wrap things up faster. From a business logic standpoint, that's a total W move. I'm actually vibing with the idea, but the local priests are absolutely losing it, they're protesting like their lives depend on it. I get where they're coming from, though. Taking people who already suffered a brutal game over and then throwing them into a furnace feels low-key inhumane. But at the end of the day, you just have to swallow the bitter truth. Pretty soon, nobody is going to get a peaceful rest in peace on their own home turf anymore. Fern is crunching on her bread so loud it's actually kind of creepy. Method gives a forced laugh, admitting that this whole group dinner vibe is feeling pretty sus and awkward. Honestly, she never expected their paths to cross in a place like this. Frieren chimes in, saying they're just as shocked. They picked up the Delete the Demons quest while camping way out on the other side of the mountain range. It's some real glitch in the Matrix energy. She asks what Jano and Method are even doing out here anyway. It's hard to believe two first-class mages are just AFK and wandering around the area for no reason. Method spills the tea. The big boss, Siri, gave me a direct order to head north, grab Jano, and go on a demon-slaying spree together. She's only here because she's following the CEO's orders. Frieren pulls a face, throwing shade at the fact that even first-class mages are being chased by KPIs like they're on a deadline. Man, I'm so glad I didn't bother becoming a first-class mage. Method explains that she's technically doing this as the boss's apprentice. Apparently, once you pass the first-class exam, you're automatically enrolled as one of Siri's disciples. Frieren just nods. She's definitely heard those rumors before. Right then, Fern pipes up with a massive flex, bragging about how she straight up left Siri on read and rejected her apprenticeship offer. Frieren gives her a head pat, basically calling her a good girl for not falling into that corporate trap. Then she turns to shade Method, asking if the two of them are actually okay with being Siri's interns and putting up with her unhinged, high-pressure demands. She's got you two running 24/7, doesn't she? Frieren teases. Method tries to cope, claiming it's not like that at all, she just wants to be useful to the boss. Plus, she's so tiny and kawaii, right? Just like you, Frieren. Frieren is low-key loving the compliment. But then Method can't help but throw Jano under the bus, calling him the ultimate bad example of how not to live your life. Frieren decides it's time to lock in. Alright, food's done, let's start the strategic roundtable. You mentioned the enemy is a dual wielder, right? Method corrects her, clarifying that was just their initial theory. But after a deeper dive into the data, something's feeling pretty sus. It doesn't quite line up. Frieren raises an eyebrow. Sus? In what way? Method breaks down the meta. From what I know, most dual-wielding styles prioritize a balance between offense and defense. Usually, you've got a long sword for the finisher and a short sword for mobility and parries. Because of that, the slash wounds on the victims should have distinct differences in depth and angle. Fern wonders if they're dealing with an absolute unit, maybe a demon lord tier boss wielding two massive greatswords. Method shakes her head. We ran that simulation too. We measured the wounds on the bodies against the environment to recreate the battle mechanics. But trying to model a fighter moving like that? It looked completely glitched and unrealistic. And that's a wrap on episode 6. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to catch the next update. See you in the next one. Kickstarting the episode, our girl Method just scored a new teammate through the Mage Association's matching system. This time, her partner is Jano, a total serious Sam type whose face looks like he's permanently stuck in a bad mood. Jano just lost his previous teammate in a brutal scrap with the demons, so now he and our resident baddie have to clear the Northern Plateau server, a zone where the danger level is straight up hell mode, rivaling the North itself. Jano throws some immediate shade. This place is lethal, don't go becoming a deadweight I have to carry. Method, being her quirky self, just offers a professional handshake like a total boss. Out of nowhere, Jano grills Method, do you consider yourself a good person? Method is like, weird flex, but okay? Jano starts getting nostalgic about his old partner, describing him as a genuine good guy, the total opposite of Jano's own cold-blooded boy energy. The old partner was a total extrovert, always smiling and surrounded by a crowd. But Jano drops a cold-hearted verdict. What an idiot. He got himself logged out just to save one kid, and I ended up missing the kill on the boss because of him. Talk about that corporate mindset. Jano is out here working for the KPI, not for the vibes. He claims that if it were him, he would have left the kid behind to focus his DPS on the boss. But let's be real, Jano is just capping and lying to himself. Deep down, he's still salty and hurting over the loss. Before heading into the fray, the squad gathers for a strategy meeting to check the enemy's stats. Based on the mana traces left behind, the culprits trashing the neighborhood are 4 high-tier demons. The MVP among them is a general wielding 4 swords, who basically deleted the entire Norm Knight squad in a single frame. Stark, the team's resident scaredy cat with hidden beast mode, is shook. A general, what even is that? Is it edible? Grandma Frieren breaks it down calmly. Those are the demon race's war gods. They've spent centuries grinding martial arts to buff their physical stats. Some are even more cracked than the generals from the Demon King's era. To make matters worse, Grandma Frieren starts throwing shade at Stark. Ever fought anyone wielding 4 swords at once? Stark is just like, nah, who even has the free time to carry that much hardware? Frieren drops the cold hard truth. That's exactly why the knights got cooked. When you're up against someone using weapon hacks like that, you're basically just waiting to get deleted. On the other side of the map, the big boss Revolt and his minions are doing a quick map check. One of the lackeys reports, "Boss, we've got 5 high-value targets incoming, 4 mages and 1 warrior. 3 of them are first class, should we jump them now?" Revolt, being the big brain leader that he is, senses the vibes aren't right. He tells them, nah, wait for them to split up first, I've stacked enough bodies to bait them, they're definitely going to divide their forces. Revolt's clocked a bug in human psychology, they have a weird habit of staying behind to protect the remains of their comrades, and he's planning to exploit that weakness to the max. The minions are genuinely confused, one demon is curious, why do humans stay behind to guard corpses, that's wild. It wants to know the logic behind such an inefficient move. Revolt, cold as ice, tells them it doesn't matter why they do it as long as it makes them easier to butcher. While the ladies head out on a scouting mission, Jeannot decides to stay in the village to wait for the knights to come collect the bodies. Stark decides to stick around and be Jeannot's +1 to help out. Jeannot calls him an idiot, arguing that without their front line, the other team's hunt is going to be a struggle. But Stark is chill, he points out that Jeannot is just trying to protect what's left of the village in case the demons pull a U-turn and ambush them. Jeannot claims he's so used to death that he's basically numb, even seeing his hometown trashed doesn't make him sad. But Stark sees right through his cold-blooded persona, insisting that Jeannot is still a good guy because he's out here guarding the remains. Jeannot ends the convo with a major death flag, kind-hearted kids like you usually don't have a long lifespan, Stark. Back with the hunting squad, Grandma Frieren warns Fern and Method to keep their mana radar on low-power mode to avoid getting pinged by the enemy. To ease the tension, she suggests the team start some small talk to buff their team spirit. At this point, Method, our newest elite teammate, starts showing her true colors. Turns out, she has a pretty unique hobby, she's obsessed with head-patting anyone smaller than her. She complains that the big boss, Siri, never lets her get a single pat in and usually just hits her with that disgusted look. So, Method turns her sights on Grandma Frieren with that no thoughts, just vibes look. Even though our elf grandma is thousands of years old, she's still got that tiny, elementary school student build. Frieren tries to shut it down at first, listen here, I'm your senior. Show some respect. But then Method drops the ultimate bribe, I have a magic spell that ensures no eggshells fall into the bowl when you crack them. Frieren, a total magic addict, immediately sells her soul, pat away, do it for 10 minutes if you want. Fern is just standing there watching her mentor, letting out a massive sigh. My master is way too easy. She's literally letting someone treat her like a pet just for some random, useless utility spell. Method even goes for the full hug to make it worth her while, and Frieren just rolls with it. Honestly, when it comes to collecting rare magic, Grandma is 100% willing to cook her reputation as a serious legendary mage. But the wholesome vibes get cut short when the demons ping their location. The enemy drops a mana fog spell, effectively blinding the squad and jamming their radar. Method gets separated from the group, leaving Frieren and Fern to face off against two demons who are specialists in aerial combat. Fern is confused, how come every demon knows how to fly? Don't they usually spend their whole lives researching just one specific magic? Grandma drops some deep lore, for a demon, flying is like walking for you, it's pure instinct, no study required. 40 years ago, the sky was basically their private server, and honestly, not much has changed. Fern is confused, how come every demon knows how to fly? Don't they usually spend their whole lives researching just one specific magic? Grandma drops some deep lore, for a demon, flying is like walking for you, it's pure instinct, no study required. 40 years ago, the sky was basically their private server, and honestly, not much has changed. Before the words are even out of her mouth, Fern lands a lightning-fast reflex shot. Fern tries to play it down, saying it was just a lucky crit because Grandma pointed the way, claiming she didn't even sense the enemy's mana. But Frieren isn't sweating it, she's got absolute faith that her apprentice is totally cracked. Frieren doubles down, telling her, Fern, there isn't a first-class mage in the world who's as fundamentally solid as you. Just have some confidence, you're going to absolutely clear this. That's classic Grandma for you, specializing in pushing her apprentices into the deep end just to watch them swim like absolute Olympic pros. Meanwhile, back at the trashed village, Stark and Jeannot are having a little heart-to-heart over some late-night grilled fish. Stark asks about the demon who leveled the place, and Jeannot introduces Revolt the Divine Mystery, the same monster who sent his old partner to the permanent lobby. Revolt wields 4 magic swords that basically have a weight hack. 1 second they're lighter than a feather so he can slash at light speed, the next, they hit like a 1,000-ton boulder. It's called the Divine Mystery Remade Sword, a weapon forged from pure, murderous mana. Stark is like, wait, light and heavy at the same time, is he cheating? Jeannot breaks it down, that's magic for you. It creates materials that don't exist in nature. He cuts through people like butter, half the time he's just slashing to test how sharp his blade is. Speak of the devil and he shall appear, Revolt and his squad spawn in instantly. He gives a smug laugh because our team did exactly what he predicted, stayed behind to guard the remains. Revolt recognizes Jeannot as a mutual from back in the day and gets curious about who this Stark kid is. When Stark asks, who the hell are you? Revolt hits him with some top-tier toxicity, tell me, when you're exterminating cockroaches, do you ever stop to introduce yourself? Ouch, I'm feeling the burn for Stark on that one. Revolt views humans as nothing more than pests that need to be cleared out. He declares, if you don't want to talk, then I'll just do my job as the janitor. Jeannot warns Stark, whatever you do, don't try to tank his hits directly. One clean hit and you're deleted instantly. Stark is low-key panicking. I'm a warrior. If I don't block, what am I supposed to do? Jeannot's advice? Use your technique to parry and deflect, bro. Stark starts worrying about Jeannot since he's a mage. If he gets closed in on, it's game over. But Jeannot shows off a total pro gamer move. I might look like a glass cannon, but my melee game is actually cracked. He activates his signature spell, Liganatohacht, manifesting a pair of ultra-hard black metal wings for both offense and defense. The battle pops off and the vibes are intense. While Revolt is out tearing everyone with his four-sword dance, Jeannot is using his metal wings to scrap in the air, while Stark focuses on dodging and looking for a frame-perfect opening. Episode 7 wraps up on a massive cliffhanger. On one side, Frieren is struggling with a long-range aerial dogfight. On the other, Stark and Jeannot are staring down the four-sword boss. Can Stark survive those 1,000-ton slashes, and will Grandma Frieren finally step in, or will she keep letting Frieren solo the mission? Make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the insane combat in Episode 8. Peace out, and see you next time. The Frieren masterpiece has finally reached its boiling point. While Grandma Frieren was basically AFK the whole time, the spotlight shifts to our favorite duo, Stark and Frieren, as they absolutely wreck the place. Frieren turns into a top-tier sniper, one-shotting creeps left and right, while Stark channels every bit of his internal power to unleash the most cracked ultimate move ever seen to slice through the four-armed demon. It turns out that just moments ago, Stark and Jeannot had to team up against the four-armed demon general, Revolt. This demon is built different. He isn't just a tank with perfect defense, but his movements are so out of bounds fast it feels like you're fighting 10 master swordsmen at once. His reflexes and stamina bar completely dwarf any human, leaving the combat stuck in a brutal stalemate. At this rate, he could just wait for them to gas out and fold them both. Jeannot considered a tactical retreat to regroup, but he immediately killed that idea. The monster's speed is so insane that trying to run would just get them sent to the lobby instantly. Since human eyes can't even track the demon's attack speed, Stark decides to go full war god mode, charging in for a direct head-on collision, only to get wounded. Just as Revolt starts trash-talking like he's already won, he unexpectedly takes a massive punch from Stark straight to the face. Uncle Jeannot times it perfectly, lunging forward to slice off Revolt's tail. At this point, Revolt finally realizes who Jeannot is. Back in the day, when Jeannot went off to hunt other demons, his partner stayed behind to protect their village, and that partner was the one Revolt just bragged about killing. The demon even had the nerve to say he learned some interesting lessons from that fight. Jeannot is absolutely seeing red now. He doesn't have time for the demon's yap and just wants to rip his head off. Before getting cooked, Revolt plays dirty, telling Jeannot he should be more careful during search and rescue missions. In that split second, Jeannot spots a child nearby, and Revolt seizes the opening to hurl a sword straight at the kid. In a do-or-die moment, Jeannot throws himself in front of the child to take the hit, unaware it was a total setup. As expected, Jeannot falls right into the trap because of his good guy urge to protect kids, ending up with a sword buried deep in his gut. Even though Jeannot managed to take out the demon minion cosplaying as a toddler, he is now getting dragged and severely injured. Revolt uses this extra time to recover, exploiting human kindness to land some cheap shots on Jeannot. Just as the demon is about to hand Jeannot a one-way ticket to the lobby, Stark rallies and tanks the entire skill set with his own body. He could have easily stayed down and played dead to survive, but Stark told himself that's too weak. His ideology is that the one who stays standing until the last second is the real winner. Meanwhile, on another part of the stage, Grandma Frieren has completely vanished, leaving Frieren isolated inside the enemy's magical mist. This mist has a weird vibe, acting like a radar that pings all mana, making Frieren's stealth skills completely useless. Frieren is struggling against a demon with bizarre magic, while Method is locked in with an opponent who plays purely by the basics, fighting with such solid technique that there isn't a single opening to exploit. Realizing they're being out of bounds outclassed by the mist, Method decides she isn't just going to sit there and wait to be cooked. The big sister figures it out. If this mist doesn't clear, Frieren is going to be shook. So, Method prepares to go full beast mode, planning to trash the entire map to blow away the fog and clear a path for Frieren to start sniping. This match is shifting toward a brute force vibe thanks to Method's aggressive fighting style. The demon opponent is suddenly glitching because those moves look familiar. They're identical to a clan from the northern plateau that lives solely to exterminate demons. Despite taking some heavy hits, Method stays as stubborn as a predator. While the enemy is busy yapping about power beyond humanity, she's already finished analyzing and decoding that bait magical mist. Method drops the mic. You only know magic for fighting, I see magic as a hobby. And boom, the Elefrate spell activates, the mist vanishes, and the server is finally clear for Frieren to get to work. The second the mist clears, Frieren's radar pings the target. The demon's mana had barely flickered before Frieren locked onto his exact coordinates. She unleashes an ultra-long-range snipe with a trajectory so cursed the opponent couldn't even react. The demon drops in total shock, while Frieren just sighs. This fighting style is exhausting, I never want to do that again. Truly a silent queen. When she moves, someone gets cooked. Back to the Stark and Revolt match. Even though the two guys have rallied, this boss is too fast, and Jeannot's spells are failing to lock on. Plus, Revolt acts like he's on some serious stims, spamming skills even harder despite taking a bucket load of lethal damage. The tankiness of this species is just not on the same latitude as humans. Jano knows that if they keep dragging this out, they're both going on a plate. In the middle of the high-tension combat, Stark, who usually doesn't use his brain much, suddenly has a cracked realization. He notices that if they just break the 4 swords in Revolt's hands, his power will get nerfed into the ground. If they can trash all 4 blades, putting this arrogant demon on the respawn timer is only a matter of time. But Revolt isn't going down easy. He stabs his bare hands right through both Stark and Jano. Thinking he's already secured the win, the 4-sword boss starts yapping. Even without my swords, I still have my hands. You humans are too narrow-minded to think losing a weapon is the end. Unfortunately for him, his knowledge of humans is at a preschool level, so he doesn't understand how burning the human desire for victory actually is. Stark and Jano coordinate to snap every single one of his magical swords, causing his focus to tank. In the life or death moment, Jano remembers Stark's words, "You're a good man." That bit of kindness provides the motivation for the duo to land the final blow, sending Revolt to reset his server permanently. Looking at the red-haired kid gasping for air on the ground, Jano starts catching feelings, remembering the day he said a tearful goodbye to his old partner. Jano drags his battered body, heavy as lead, toward Stark. The distance is tiny, but he crawls like it's been a century, simply because he refuses to lose another ride-or-die homie. After the job is done, Jano wakes up and finds he hasn't logged out yet, thanks to some quick healing from Method. The first thing he does is ask about Stark's condition. The kid is covered in wounds, but luckily, he's still got his life. For a long time, Jano was tormented by the thought that he indirectly killed his best friend, leaving his inner world shattered. The appearance of Stark became the key to saving his life, pulling him out of the black hole of self-blame he'd been stuck in. Now, the big sister Method sees that Team Frieren is missing a priest, so she offers to join. "My mission is done, how about I match with you guys?" She warns that the northern server is a death trap without a healer. But Grandma Frieren shuts it down. That spot is reserved for Sane. The real reason is that every time Method shows up, Fern loses her chill and gets super jealous. Talk about hidden ship drama. Parting ways with Team Jano, Stark can't resist taking a jab at Frieren. "Why didn't you let that beauty come along? She was top tier. Sane is going to be so salty when we see him later." Frieren just shuts him up. "One beauty in the team is enough." The episode ends as Grandma receives her reward, an ancient book she's wanted since she was a teenager. She holds Himmel's diary with sparkling eyes, promising some serious emotional flashbacks in the upcoming episodes. Make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell to catch the next episodes of this Frieren masterpiece. Peace out, everyone. Episode 9 kicks off with a dangerously high-stakes vibe in the northern plateau. The squad arrives at a village completely trashed by dragons. Stark is losing it. Wait, dragons are actually on this map? That's terrifying. But Grandma Frieren goes full back in my day mode, reminiscing about how she and Himmel used to get swarmed by dragons like they were just annoying flies. The whole team is shook. Only someone who's lived for centuries could treat a dragon like a common house lizard. When the village chief begs them to wipe out the dragon pack, Frieren cuts straight to the point. "What's the loot? Any cracked magic books in it for me?" The reward is a total letdown, a spell that helps you read tongue twisters without stuttering. Fern is speechless, wondering if that even counts as magic, but Frieren's obsession with useless collectibles wins out, and she accepts the quest just for the vibes. After a mana vibe check, the team heads into the forest and faces a swarm of dragons. Frieren's leadership is touching. "Stark, go be a human punching bag so I can cast from the back row." Even though he complains about being the designated meat shield, Stark still gets to work, holding the line while the grandma clears the map. The battle is intense, with Stark swinging his axe like a war god while Frieren and Fern provide top-tier sniper support. After the dust settles, Fern is traumatized because she saw a dragon literally chew on Stark's head. Stark just scratches his head, wondering if his skull is simply harder than dragon teeth. Truly a tank-class legend, gets his head chewed on and stays out of bounds healthy. Frieren nonchalantly mentions that Aizen used to take dragon bites to the face without a scratch too. Fern can only sigh, realizing this whole party has dumped every single stat point into defense. They're basically monsters at this point. Mission accomplished, Frieren collects her trash-tier magic book. Fern questions why Frieren always demands a reward, making her look materialistic. Cue a classic Himmel flashback to save the day. Himmel believed that helping people shouldn't just be for empty thank yous. He argued that if you help for free, people carry that debt forever. Just take a useless grimoire or some cheap trinket as payment. It keeps things even, no one owes anyone anything, and everyone lives better. This is exactly why Frieren's eyes light up every time she sees a useless spell now. It's a gift from her ride-or-die homie. After reading the tongue twister grimoire, the team gets hit with bad weather and ends up stuck at Lake Combe, the biggest lake in the north. Himmel once told her that being stuck in the rain, drinking and waiting, is just as much a part of the adventure as the walking itself. The weather at Lake Combe is a literal nightmare. The wind howls like an angry ex, and even big ships are getting cooked. Frieren realizes that if Fern tries to fly across, she'll run out of mana and be sent to the lobby at the bottom of the lake. So, the team enters forced vacation mode and accidentally skips an entire winter. When they finally try to catch a ferry, they discover a shocking truth: they're broke. Fern immediately performs a vibe check on the finances. The ferry money vanished because Grandma bought too many useless grimoires. Frieren just scratches her head. That's the problem with living too long. Once you get addicted to antiques, no one can stop the spending spree. Luckily, the pier master is a huge fan of Himmel. He offers a crack deal. There's a rumor that an abandoned convent on an island nearby has Himmel's autobiography. Bring it back for the village to see, and the ferry ride is on the house. Frieren remembers Himmel complaining about losing his half-finished autobiography. Turns out the goods were lost here all along. On the way to the island, the boatman shares some hot gossip about a one-piece treasure left by a saint named Oda out at sea. The internet, the local rumors, are going wild, and people are swarming the ferries like a sold-out concert. But the reality? No one has ever come back. It's either a massive scam or a lethal trap. Typical humans, they see gold and get blinded, not caring if they'll even be alive to spend it. The team reaches the island. The convent looks grand but was wiped by monsters decades ago. Fern does a vibe check on the barrier and realizes it's an old-school, low-level spell. Frieren explains it's just a protective barrier for the archives where the convent kept its valuables. After Frieren decodes the barrier like it's child's play, they enter the archives. Fern wonders what happened to the monks, but Grandma just shrugs. It was a long time ago. Who can remember every detail of the people they met? The highlight of the room is a statue of the national heartthrob Himmel posing dramatically. And there it is, the legendary autobiography. Fern excitedly asks if it contains secret techniques or political conspiracies. Frieren drops the mic. It's just a daily blog of our useless everyday lives. Nothing important. Classic Himmel, treating an autobiography like a personal social media feed. Back at the pier, the master recognizes Frieren instantly. He says, "The rumors mentioned an elf mage in the hero's party, and looking at your depressed face, I knew it was you." Apparently, Grandma always looks so shook with grief for her old friend that she radiates a spiritual emo vibe. The pier master is a real one and tells her to keep the book. It's more precious to you than us. Consider the ferry ride paid in full. Himmel's cloud is still carrying the team decades later. Once on the ferry, Stark enters superhero mode. He pulls out the new magic book to practice, trying to look deep and cool to scare off monsters. Bring it on, monsters. War God Stark is here. Immediately, a giant octopus pops up to vibe check him. The team panics, and Fern screams, "Why did you challenge it? Now it's going to drag the whole ship to the bottom." Frieren just watches the drama, using the tongue twister magic she just learned to cast spells faster. Typical Grandma testing her new toys while her teammate is getting clapped. The chaotic battle on Lake Como ends with some coordinated moves from Fern and Stark. Amidst the magical night sky, Frieren remembers Himmel's words: "If we defeat the Demon King, an era where everyone can enjoy this view will come." A bittersweet ending full of hope for the team's next journey. Grandma Frieren continues to bait the fans with her memories of the national husband, Himmel. What other useless magic is waiting for the team down the road? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to catch the next top tier vibe checks. Peace out. The team is standing in front of a 3,000 m deep canyon, so deep you can't even see the bottom, much like the bottomless ethics of people who make empty promises. This is the deepest gorge on the continent, a truly out-of-bounds masterpiece of the northern plateau. The wind here hits so hard that Fern snaps. "With wind slapping my face like this, we're gonna log out before we can even cast a flight spell, Grandma." Stark feels a weird sense of déjà vu, like he's faced this kind of cursed scenario before. Grandma Frieren enters travel consultant mode, but her advice is a bit chilling. Go upstream and hike until your legs fall off for a massive detour, or head downstream to a 3,000 m cliff with a great ocean view. She nonchalantly asks, "Wanna go check out the view and decide later?" Fern immediately shuts it down. "Hard pass, Grandma. I have zero interest in that kind of extreme trekking." The final verdict: walking around this gap will take about 2 weeks, a number that leaves the whole team shook on the spot. Just as they're about to waste half a month on a soul-crushing hike, Frieren has a cracked realization: "I think it's about time." She leads the team upstream, and boom, a massive bridge appears out of nowhere. The owner of this project is Gen, a dwarf who spent 200 years just carving this bridge. Frieren drops a pressing question: "If you finished this epic bridge ages ago, it should be a bustling traffic hub by now. Why haven't I heard a single whisper about it?" Gen leaks the sad truth: a pack of giant monster birds moved in illegally. They clap anyone who tries to cross. Just recently, a group of merchants looking for the golden sage was sent to the lobby by these birds. Since they respawn infinitely, his 200-year passion project is now nothing more than a giant piece of abandoned scrap metal. Gen desperately begs Frieren to clean out this den of chaos. And the reward for this life or death quest? A magic spell that helps you flip pancakes like a pro. Stark and Fern are probably thinking, are our lives only worth a single pancake to you, Grandma? But for Frieren, who is obsessed with collecting useless magic, this is a top-tier match. She closes the deal instantly without a second thought. On the way to the nest, she tells the story of Gen's past. Back then, people mocked him, saying, "You'll never finish this bridge in your lifetime, you're out of cash, stay salty." Gen wasn't one to back down, firing back with some high-level stubbornness, "I might run out of money, but I've got plenty of time." Typical long-lived species vibe, spending 2 centuries to prove to the world I do what I say, regardless of whether the bridge ends up being a bird sanctuary or not. It turns out this dwarf didn't spend his youth carving rocks just for the love of architecture, but because of a top-tier trauma. Long ago, Gen's village was purged by demons while the reinforcements were stuck on the other side of the canyon because there was no way across. Gen bitterly recalls, if this bridge existed then, the whole village wouldn't have logged out of the Earth server. The hero Himmel once tried to gift Gen a bunch of noble treasures for funding, but Gen refused out of pure pride, "I don't take cash before the job is done." Himmel left him with a legendary quote, "Then Frieren will be the one to see the results. Just build it solid, as long as it's still standing in 1,000 years, we're good." So, the dwarf grinded for 200 years to finish the bridge. Back to the present, Frieren's team finds the nest and walks into combat like it's a Sunday stroll. As expected, the monster birds are sent to the lobby in a heartbeat. The bridge is officially open, and Gen is hyped because he can finally head back to his village to retire in peace. The team gets their reward, a god-tier pancake-flipping magic performance. Frieren is thrilled to learn a new useless trick, while Stark and Fern focus on refueling their hungry stomachs. Gen looks at the bridge and sighs in relief, "After 200 years, I can finally start rebuilding a new village." The joy is short-lived as Fern enters chief accountant mode to check the wallet. The results are psychologically damaging, their spending money will only last for 1 week. Fern starts pressing Grandma for her wasteful spending habits, especially on all that useless decorative magic. Just as they're about to start begging for food, Frieren leads the team to an adventurer camp hunting for relic crystals. This is a cracked rare mineral used for high-end magic potions, extremely valuable, but the find rate is as low as your chances of getting a girlfriend. Stark wants to start digging for cash, but Grandma stops him, "You're too green. Digging rocks takes forever. If you want fast cash, look at this market." The team walks into the marketplace and gets hit with a massive glitch when they see the prices. 1 loaf of bread costs 1 silver coin, 10 times the market price. Turns out these merchants are pulling a pro-level bait-ant switch, only selling to the filthy rich adventurers who struck it lucky with crystals. Frieren starts brain-hacking Stark and Fern on why the prices here are so cutthroat. Relic crystals are expensive for 2 reasons, rarity and the fact that they're located in areas crawling with beast mode monsters. Fern catches on quick, if prices go up, the loot for hunting bosses should go up too, right? Grandma smirks, bingo. She leads them to a sweet contract from the locals, wipe out the monsters occupying the quarry and then set up an anti-personnel barrier to keep other scavengers out. The team encounters a massive monster. Frieren warns them, "Be careful, kids, this one is high tier, all the rank H adventurers before us were sent to the lobby by this thing." The fight is intense, the boss is not only a tank but reacts instantly to mana. Stark has to go into trackstar mode to act as bait while Frieren lands the finishing blow. They thought they'd get a break, but once the boss is cooked, its fading mana attracts a whole swarm of minions for a group attack. The team is surrounded by a massive red flag vibe. In the heat of the moment, a demon patrol appears. Turns out they're patrolling the area under Lord Norm's orders. Thanks to this timely assist, Team Frieren avoids being ganked to death. Frieren closes the deal fairly, let's call it even this time. The northern plateau is changing its vibe, and factions are starting to control the territory tightly. Truly a dangerous world, but Grandma's deep connections prove useful everywhere. After a high-drama night of camping, Fern wakes up early to rouse the grandma. Frieren is still in her old habit, "Give me 5 more hours." Fern doesn't play around and threatens to glitch her awake with an ice spell. But then, the team looks down at their feet in shock, relic crystals are everywhere. They truly hit the jackpot. They got paid for the boss hunt and found a hoard of gems right under their sleeping bags. As the sun rises, the team stands frozen for 5 seconds as the relic crystals sparkle brilliantly under the morning light. Grandma starts a flashback, "Back when I was hunting the Demon King with Himmel, he said we should work hard so that everyone could see this beauty one day. That era has finally arrived, it feels a bit weird, but it's pretty top tier." Fern looks at the view and drops a cold truth, "It's beautiful, but humans will just mine and dig it all up eventually." After clearing the monsters, the adventurer who hired them reveals himself. Grandma asks, "Now that the barrier is up, when are you sending people in to mine?" Here comes the tactical U-turn, this guy has zero intention of digging for money. Turns out he's a local who loves his hometown's beauty, so he hired Team Frieren to set up a barrier to protect the quarry from other poaching adventurers. The guy concludes, "Thanks to you, I can keep the vibe of my hometown alive." A true nature lover, he'd rather spend money on mages than become a rich mining tycoon. Back to the reality of being broke, Stark watches Grandma buy a bunch of useless magic tools at highway robbery prices in the inflated market and feels a mental breakdown. Grandma, where is the money coming from? You're trashing the economy. But old Ginger is spicier than young Ginger. Fern nonchalantly pulls out a stack of cash. I knew your habits, so I secretly hid half the reward money. Grandma just nods repeatedly. That's my girl, I taught you well. In any trekking team, you always need one person with a clear head to hold the cash so everyone doesn't end up begging for food. Meanwhile, a small meeting is happening to hand over a grave mission, managing and maintaining the seal on the Golden Sage. The enemy this time is no joke, it's Mott, one of the strongest and last remaining of the 7 Sages of Destruction. Denken's hometown has been turned into a giant jewelry store. Denken mocks himself, going to save a hometown that's turned to gold sounds like a fairy tale for kids, doesn't it? Fern's hidden slush fund move was a total lifesaver for the team. Do you think Grandma Frieren's spending habits are like people panic buying at midnight? Will the 1v1 match with the demon mock leave the team folded? Don't forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss other epic anime. Peace out.